Hey everyone, I'm going to pick back up here in Hebrews chapter 12, verse 26 and 27. I want to explain this just a little bit better. Here in verse 26, it says, "Whose voice then shook the earth? But now he hath promised, saying, Yet once more I shake not the earth only, but also heaven." Well, we know the scriptures tell us that the heavens and the earth will be shaken. And we know that in the Old Testament, we see scriptures that tell us that the earth will reel to and fro like a drunkard. The thing I want to point out here is, first, is where it says, "Whose voice then shook the earth? But now he hath promised, saying, Yet once more." Okay, what the Lord has shown me that this scripture is referring to, where it says, "Whose voice then shook the earth," it's referring to, now see, we're seeing here is talking about shook the earth, a shaking of the earth. Remember, we talked about that before when we were in, let me get a hold of this thing a little better. When we were looking at the scripture over here, when Jesus, it says right here, he yielded up the ghost. And remember, Christ cried out, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" And then we see the earth did quake. Now remember, the Lord had shown me that where we see this, the earth did quake, it's about the earth shaking, not an earthquake. Because over here, just across the page, remember, we saw right here, Matthew's still writing, same author of the book, and he wrote a great earthquake. And this was when the stone rolled away from the door of the tomb. So we clearly see that Matthew was intending something different as well, because this is a great earthquake. And over here, he writes, the earth did quake. The earth did shake. Okay, it's about an earth shaking, not an earthquake. Just as what we just saw over here where it says, "Whose voice then shook the earth." Well, and how it's going to shake again along with the heavens. Well, the voice it's referring to here is the voice when Jesus cried out. Okay? Jesus cried out, and then the earth shook. So it's referring to the time when the voice of Jesus cried out. And it says, "Whose voice then shook the earth. But now he hath promised, saying, Yet once more I shake not the earth only, but also the heavens." So we know the earth's going to shake again. We're told that. And so that is telling us when it shook before. Okay? And we clearly see it in Scripture. When Christ gave up the ghost and he cried out, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" the earth shook. And we also see, by what the Lord has shown us, is in Exodus 10, it is going to be that earth shaking that causes the destruction that brings about the massive death that is represented by in Exodus 10 by the firstborn being smote, by them dying. Because we're going to see a massive death, and this earth shaking is going to bring that about. And it's all about how Exodus mirrors what's to come, okay? We read on in verse 27, and it says, and this will take us back to Exodus 10 as well. It says, "And this word, yet once more, signifieth the removing of those things that are shaken, as of things that are made. Okay? Things that are made are by man's hands are not made of God, okay? So the point that's being made here, it says the things, as of the things that are made, that those things which cannot be shaken may remain. Okay, those things that cannot be shaken may remain. That's the things of God, okay? It goes on to say, wherefore we received a kingdom which cannot be moved. Let us have grace whereby we may serve God acceptably with reverence and godly fear, for our God is a consuming fire. Okay, back up here in verse 27, we see that it says, yet once more signifieth the removing of those things that are shaken. Okay, back in Exodus, I think we'd moved on to chapter 11. And I've been referencing 10 all along, but we need to move on into 11, I believe, and maybe even possibly 12. We'll go there and look in just a minute. About how the firstborn were smote. And we have this this great event that's going to claim wives. Will take place again, just as it did in Exodus. And, the Lord had taken me there when I asked him about the 3 days of darkness, and that's how we even got started there, okay? And this just shows you how the scriptures are so intertwined, because we can clearly see, and I'm hoping explaining it to where you can see too, how that here the word is talking about whose voice then shook the earth, which was the voice of the Lord, okay? It was the voice of Christ when he cried out on the cross. It shook the earth because we saw that the earth did quake. It was an earth shaking, okay? And that's in Matthew 27, verse 51. All right, so we see that, and we see that it's going to shake again. And that is what is going to come, what we talked about in my earlier studies. You go back and look at those where I covered the scriptures in Exodus 10 and 11, and how the Lord had shown me about the 3 days of darkness and the events to take place during that, and how it begins with this earth shaking, okay? Because just go back and see the videos. I'm not going to explain all that again. I just don't have time. But anyway, we see that we're going to have this earth shaking again. And it is, as in verse 27, it says, yet once more signifieth the removing of those things that are shaken, as of things that are made. So it's talking about removing. It says that those things which cannot be shaken may remain. So it's talking about removing the things that are not of God. And that's exactly what we saw. Let's go back over here. In Exodus, let me see here. And we see that clearly right here in Exodus. All right, remember when we were in Exodus and we looked at chapter 11, the first verse, and it says, and the Lord said unto Moses, yet will I bring one plague more upon Pharaoh. And see, we saw that we're going to see the earth shake one more time, okay? Once more. And see, we see that same type wording right here. I will bring one plague more. Okay, so we see the scriptures connecting here and showing us a parallel. That's the point I want to make. But see, as before, I showed you how the scripture says, bring one plague more upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt, which represents the world. Afterwards, he will let you go. When he shall let you go, he shall surely thrust you out, hence altogether. So what we're seeing here, is talking about the world. Egypt is the world, and it's talking about it letting you go, okay? The world has a hold on a lot of people, and the Lord is taking me back to this. Now, this is not what I had planned to do, but he's taking me back to this, and I'm sure there's a reason. But he's reiterating, and he's connecting the scriptures here to what we were just looking at in the New Testament. But it's talking about how it's going to bring one plague more upon the world, and the world will let you go. Meaning it will lose its grip on you. And that's what the Lord is saying over in the scriptures we just looked at, because it's saying that the things that are made will be shaken and will basically be taken away. And the only things that remain will be the things that are not shaken. So he's removing the world, and we see that same thing going on here in chapter 11 of Exodus. And it is well represented in the scriptures that we just came from. Okay? And that be where, let me see if I can get back there without too much hassle. And that would be where we see this right here in verse 27 of Hebrews 12. And it says, remember? Let me see. Right here, verse 27. And this word, yet once more. And see, we see that same type wording going on in Exodus, where he's going to bring one more plague. So we see the connection here, the parallel here. Signify the removing of those things that are shaken, as of things that are made, that those things which cannot be shaken may remain. So he's going to remove all the things that we cling to. Just like I told you before when we were studying that verse. The Lord is fixing to remove with this shaking and this destruction that's coming. He's fixing to remove the things that we idolize, the things that we put before him. So that all that is left, it says here, let's see, all that is left are the things that cannot be shaken. That's all that will remain. So you will either turn to the Lord or you will turn away. Now, I think the Lord has clearly shown me that a lot of people are going to turn to him. That's the whole point of all this, is to bring as many as possible to him before all these other things are unleashed upon the earth. But God is clearly showing us a connection between Hebrews 12, 26 and 27 and Exodus 11, where we see that we've got one more thing coming, this one more shaking, just as in Egypt they had one more plague coming that was going to make them lose their grip on the world. And we see that happening here, because the only thing that's going to remain are the things that cannot be shaken, and that is the things of the Lord. Okay, he's removing all the things that people cling to, that keep them distracted from him. And he wanted me to reiterate this for some reason, because this is the scripture he took me to. And I had never seen the scripture before in the way that I see it now. So he's clearly given me a new understanding, because I've never put that together before, and I thank him for it. He is so wonderful. But I'm going to shut this off and get back into, because right across on the other side of the page, we get back into these Levite priests and how that is symbolic of the bride. And we'll get back on that when I come back, unless the Lord takes me somewhere else. Thank y'all. Love you. Bye-bye.